Welcome in. This is your odds checker betting preview for this week's FedEx St. Jude Championship. I think that's the name of it. This thing's changed so much over the years. I'm Rick Gehman. That's Geoff Fienberg. Geoff, here we go. First leg of the playoffs. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Rick. The scheduling spot, I guess, has changed for this one over the years, but the location remains consistent. It's a course a lot of these guys are quite familiar with. It's a course a lot of people who like to bet golf are quite familiar with.
Yeah, that's right. TPC Southwind, it's been a staple for decades, no matter if it was a regular tour event or a WGC, which it hosted for a couple of years and now is the first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. So this is a place we know. And as you can imagine, all of the top 125, barring Nate Lashley, Tommy Fleetwood, are here. So we've got an absolute stacked field here, Geoff, and the top of the grid reveals one name alone. It is Rory Mcilroy. He is 11-1. Those are the best odds that you can get on him across the industry. And you can get a handful of other guys under 20. Cam Smith is 16, along with Scotty Scheffler. And then the 3 at 18 are Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, and Xander Schauffele. Talked about this last week. Are we gearing towards the top of the board? What do we think?
Well, once again last week, I don't think we'd call it a chalk victory, although all my picks were sort of in the identical betting range of the Tom Kim victory. It was, again, another good player, wins golf tournament, maybe some 40s, but for the most part, it was an under 40-1 selection. I don't know, Rick. A lot of these names, they are tempting. They certainly are. A guy like Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, they fit the Southwind profile perfectly. Justin Thomas has had great success here before. But in the end, I am once again going to go deeper down the board. When we get strong fields like this, I'm just a sucker for what gets to happen sort of in that 30 to 50-1 range, Rick. And I got God again.
All right, let's go a little bit deeper down the board. Jon Rahm 22-1, which I'm racking my brain, Geoff. When's the last time we've seen a 20 on Rahm?
Yeah, as the Open Championship drew closer, as the hours drew closer, they were starting to put twos in front of Jon Rahm's name. Something that is so, just jarring to see, as even debated before with our friend Pat Mayo today. The fact that Jon Rahm and Tony Finau are the same number at a lot of places is crazy. I'm a huge Jon Rahm fan, but I'm a total Finau stan. And it's almost flattering for a Finau fan that this is even a conversation. Like, who would you rather this week, Jon Rahm or Tony Finau? One thing that remains consistent, Rick, find me the spot. We used to get a little white lightning once in a while. Who's winning without form? I mean, I'm not just talking about we're getting winners and the good players and the shorter prices winning. Everybody is winning with lead-in form. Something we stress around major championships because of how competitive they are and how deep the fields are. Even the fields we make fun of. You can't win without form anymore. So that'd be my biggest concern with Jon Rahm, although anytime they put a 2 in front of him, he lasts deep into my process. It's pretty rare there's a 2 in front of him.
Yeah, the other guys in this range with much better form, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tony Finau, Will Zalatoris, even going to Cam Young when you start to get towards the end of the 20s and into the 30s. So, Geoff, if it's not Rahm, is there another wager you'd like to make here?
I'm going to start my card, Rick, with the Will Zalatorises. They're out there at 28s on the odds checker grid. Some of the sites offering the 28s. If you don't care for any of the each ways, they offer an enhanced, which puts a 30 in front of it. Full field, Will Zalatoris, 28, 30 above. It's an auto play for me. There are times where I'm stepping away from Will, getting too short at the chalk, but TPC Southwind, keep it out of the water. Iron's immaculate. I know the caddy change, maybe it's a breath of fresh air, man, it's a game of inches, because you do feel like if had he won one of those tournaments, there's probably enough goodwill to sustain any fracturing in that business friendship relationship that Will felt he had to move on from. But give me Will Zalatoris here, Rick, starting the card.
Yeah, he's a quarter of an inch away from like going to a playoff at the US Open, and maybe maybe that caddy's got a job for another 18 months or whatever of a grace period. That's the margins out there.
Yeah, and that's got, I mean, listen, I don't know the ins and outs of the caddy game, but when you lose the Will Zalatoris bag, oh,
Yeah.
that's going to be a hard one to recover from. Hopefully he does.
The other big interesting name here is Colin Morikawa, who you can get at 33-1. You know, he is not playing particularly well. We haven't seen him though since the Open Championship, so maybe he's had a little bit of time to get right. And we've seen this already. It's a young career for Morikawa, already countless times where they let this number drift to 30 or 35, and then he snaps off and wins one, Geoff.
You couldn't have said it any better. The form isn't ideal, but the number is big, and maybe it even gets bigger where you're just like, I'm going to play the ceiling on this. When it comes to Colin Morikawa, at a course that, you know, just get it out there in the fairway and use those irons, avoid the water that's in play, roughly 10 to 12 holes here, Rick. It is this whole sort of 30-1 range that I am incredibly enamored with. All these ultra talented players that I could see myself investing in. Morikawa at, you know, in that 33. This is, you know, we're in Sam Burns country in the Southeast. Sung J M, if he doesn't, you know, get caught by an eclipse of Tom Kim and hits a couple of his shorties, maybe we're talking about him under 25-1, Rick. So of those names I just mentioned, though, it is Im and Morikawa that definitely would be the ones I'm zoning in on the most.
Morikawa, the best number you can find is a 33 right now at BetMGM, but he's hovering in the 28, 29, 30 range in most places. Sung J M 35-1, the best number on the grid. And we can continue to go here, Geoff. There's a large discrepancy on a guy that we've spent a lot of money on this year, Victor Hovland, as short as 29-1, as long as 40. Same kind of story for Hideki Matsuyama, as short as 34, as long as 50. You can kind of pick and choose here, maybe find some numbers that are right for you once we get kind of to this portion of the board.
I ran to the computer, Rick, to double click my Victor Hovland at 40-1. And no secret, I'm going to go right back to it in my props video this week. I'm going to put out the APB to the books. Who wants to give me my Victors by a field goal again? Because I am feeling it. Do I wish maybe he got a start since the Open Championship? We could have seen some kindling of that form, you know, that, you know, took him to the final round in that final group. Of course. But if he did play any of these events, he would have played amazing and he'd be like 24-1 this week. So he didn't. And they're hanging this 40 at a course that really suits Victor perfectly, in my opinion, for many of the same reasons. You know, I have touted Morikawa already here and Will Zalatoris, and to set it and forget it, I am really liking the ability to just make a Zalatoris Morikawa Hovland card, Rick. I don't know. It's funny to think I'm betting these young guys, put a lot of money into Vic this year, put a lot of money into Will. They can't get me the win. And these Tom Kim backers just walk right in the front door and cash a ticket.
Yeah, that was super easy.
You could throw the Cam Young, you know, crew into us. We're just like, we're investing. We need that payback on it. Here comes Tom Kim. He gets it like on the third rodeo. Unbelievable. But no seriousness. I know we're marks for Victor here, you and I. I think this is an incredible spot and an incredible number. That 40-1. It's hard to get fair numbers, let alone good numbers, and the grid always helps us do it. I'd say this is good and fair.
Yeah, I certainly agree. When you're a great ball, we've seen, I mean, the data backs it up. Be a great ball striker at TPC Southwind, you find yourself getting towards the top of the leaderboard. A little bit further down here. So this is where we start to ask the question in these really strong fields, Geoff, like how can these guys get to the top of the leaderboard? Can these guys get to the top of the leaderboard? The Corey Connors of the world, the Russell Henleys, the Aaron Wises, guys that have played well for their PGA Tour season, but this is a big boy one. You got to go out and win this thing.
Yeah, you definitely do, Rick. And I wish I did this before, but let's even look at FedEx Cup winners in a nutshell. I assume it's just the true elite of the elite. The Tony Finau breakthrough at the Northern Trust last year, I would call it a breakthrough, but it really was in some ways. It felt like it in that 60-1 range is almost as big as a FedEx Cup number hitting I could ever recall in recent memory. And it would be a big ask to get another one. That being said, using that grid, there's a 60 out there for me. It's on Ty Hatton. I was in at the 40 last week. Obviously, that came up short, but you see the game trending in the right direction, starting at the U.S. Open through to last week of closing 64. I still feel like he's a bit of a forgotten entity. I think this is maybe a half tier too low for Hatton at that 60-1. But Max Homa's a winner who's won here before. And you hate to say it, I'm not betting it, but Billy Horschel, this is like kind of in his wheelhouse. He's what BMW in Europe, WGCs, Memorial. I mean, watch him just pull this thing. And his win at 60-1 at Memorial is kind of the biggest, longest, most impressive win we've had in some time from an odds perspective.
Yeah, that's probably true. 50-1 is the best number you can get on the grid right now from Billy Horschel. Terrell Hatton, 60, mostly 50, but you can find a 60 at Caesars right now. So if you want to shop it, or if you're able to shop it. Okay, Geoff. So I think that's mostly where I draw the line. You've got a lot of guys that might not be playing the greatest when you start getting into the triple digits. And we talk all the time about who's going to actually win this. I mean, are we making any triple digit outrights here? Or are we just going to save those guys for some other markets?
I really hope I'd have the discipline not to, because it does feel like a total waste. Part of me wants to get really, that Davis Riley at 90 sitting right in front of 100 is tempting. You already mentioned him, but the Connors Wise at 75. That's almost like the Mendoza line. Well, no, once you're at the Mendoza line, you're probably too low. That's like probably exactly where I would cut it off. I'm not expecting to get got by 100-1 here. Recent PGA results tell us that, and that this is the FedEx Cup playoffs are big boy pants parties. These next two events are as strong as any fields we get all year, pound for pound. That includes majors. Some would say this is even stronger than most of the majors when you consider the form required to be here.
Correct. You've had to earn your way in at some point, whether with season-long form or just getting hot right now. So all these guys are in decent form. And this will be our last cut event, because next week will be that 70-player no cut. That's a real big boy one in Wilmington, which is, of course, we haven't seen on tour before. So that'll be fun to kind of handicap through, and we'll figure it all out, Geoff, won't we?
We certainly will. And as our boy Ryan Baroff joked on Twitter today, when the wife asked where all the money went this week, I was going to point to that 35 to 50 range, Rick.
That's where it is. That's the retirement.
That's where it is.
Yeah, that's the savings. That's the vacation. It's all there. All right, Geoff Fienberg. Yeah, exactly. Geoff Fienberg, available on Twitter at GFienberg17. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been your odds checker betting preview for the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Good luck.